Today, Jagex released the beta for the ranged combat updates that are slated to come next year in 2026. A while ago, when they did the 2025 roadmap, they talked about a major combat update. And like many people sort of expected, the goal is to bring the existing combat styles, or rather, I should say, the legacy combat styles, in line with necromancy to make them more fluid, to remove redundancies, and to just give the combat styles all an overall modern feeling to them. So the biggest change I think that they've done right out of the gate is they have boosted the existing combat skills to 120 in this beta. That does not include HP or prayer or summoning, just the actual combat styles themselves. And they have gone ahead and disabled the Berserker, Sharpshooter, um, what's it called? Maniacal and Majorat auras as a result. Again, this kind of makes them similar to Necromancy in that they don't have the combat boosting auras anymore. This beta is focused solely on range. The magic and melee changes are sort of still a work in progress. We can see them on the beta, but for this video, I just wanted to look at ranged. So as you can see, I've sort of updated my combat ability bar up here at the top, and we've got some changes to it, you can see, and I'm going to go through those changes in a moment. The focus for range looks like has been multi-hit abilities, kind of like it already is now, but really doubling down on that. There's going to be effects, there's going to be payoffs, there's going to be obviously you're building stacks with your various arrows, things like that. Additionally, one of the major changes is ammo is sort of reverting to how it was pre-EOC, where even firing off abilities will consume arrows. The arrows will drop to the floor, and they have a 20% chance of completely breaking. So the goal is sort of to improve arrow consumption, but not make it, crazy. And obviously, there's going to be balancing issues with that. So before I actually try the combat, I just wanted to go over the major changes they made. So there's the basic attack, which is, funnily enough, using the necromancy animation at the moment. It's just a standard ranged attack similar to the necromancy basic. It does 90% to 110% damage. Piercing shot has been relatively unchanged. It on average will do 120 to 140% of your damage over 2 hits, and it also reduces the cooldown on snipe. Snipe has undergone a big change. It will now do one big hit. You can see 300 to 360% damage, and it has a long cooldown of a minute. One idea that they're sort of playing with is to add in a sort of secondary style to range down the line that they would call sort of a sniper style. So my guess is that will be slower attacks, bigger hits with different payoffs, that kind of stuff. Largely speaking, Binding Shot, Corruption Blast, and Ricochet have not really changed. Ricochet is a single target ability now, but the effects of Coroming and Greater Ricochet itself do the same thing where they add extra hits. This one is subject to change. It's something they've admitted they're looking at. If you look, you'll see that all basics now generate 9% adrenaline per hit, and they've gone away from thresholds, and now there's just abilities that consume adrenaline. Again, making it incredibly similar to necromancy. Bombardment hasn't really changed. It just had the damage improved somewhat up to 300 to 330 per target that it hits. And it costs 45% adrenaline, so pretty expensive for that big AoE. Snapshot is relatively unchanged. It's going to do, between 300 and 340% damage over the 2 hits that it, fires off. And then Rapid Fire, again, is relatively unchanged. It binds for 6 seconds, it does 8 hits, does a ton of damage, and only costs 20% adrenaline. So no major changes there. The biggest change, perhaps, is the new ability called Splinter Shots. This is a self buff that's going to last about 40 seconds, 40.2 seconds. And if you look at the tooltip on the bottom, you can see for about half of your adrenaline, so it's like a mini ultimate, it's going to boost your damage by about 30%. And this is really to make use of the multi-hit. Each hit is an additional 30% damage. Whether or not that's flat, whether or not that's 30% of what you do, 30% of the hit, right? So will the basic do 30% of the 90 to 110, or is it a flat number? We'll have to crunch and see. I'm sure that's going to be some balancing. But if you look at the time, the cooldown is 38.4 seconds, and the ability lasts 40 seconds. So if you can maintain your adrenaline, in theory, you can have 100% uptime on this ability. So you're going to use that in conjunction with, of course, Death Swiftness, which has not really changed at all. Same thing. They do want to remove the requirement for World Awakes from this, so we can assume that Sunshine will follow suit. And then the last change is the Dead Shot. It's no longer a bleed ability. It simply does 5 hits. It is still impacted by the Suck Cape. You can see here, without the Suck Cape, the numbers are lower. It does 115 and 135% damage, costs 100% adrenaline. But if you got that Suck Cape, the damage goes up to 125 to 145 per hit, and it's only 60% adrenaline. So the ability gets a decent strength boost per hit, and it becomes basically an expensive threshold. So what I'm going to do now for this video is I'm going to do a really basic test. I'm going to go do 5 kills at the new boss, the Fletch Hatcher. I'm going to do these 5 kills in the beta and then outside the beta, and I'm going to basically look at the times and kind of see how this feels. I am not going to use any auras. I am going a really simple loadout of full arrows and, oh, I should go set a portal. Full arrows and just sort of best in slot ranging for, two-handed, like a two-handed bow setup. I'm not really going to use my EOF. I'm going to try to get as much, variability out of this as possible, and I just kind of want to see how the kill times look. We'll do a private encounter so there's nothing funky going on. Let's do a kill. I'm not even going to use Death Swiftness on this first kill. I'm just going to use the new ability, which I got a proc on, which is awesome. I am aware that I did not use So that was a 19.2 second kill. Let's just loot, bang, leave. That I did not use my overloads. I'm going to use my overloads on the second kill. So I could definitely see the effect of Splinter Shots. I'm not going to use it here, and we're going to see what it does. So that did about 2,000 each. I started at 4,000. I'm going to use Gricko again once it's off cooldown, now that I've lost Splinter Shot. Definitely weaker. You can see I'm spamming Snapshot because there's no longer an adrenaline cost for it. So this kill's a little slower, but that's because I wanted to specifically test Gricko. 28 seconds. You can see I'm using... It says the ammo I'm using. Watch me get a hex. How funny would that be if I got a hex in the beta? Alright. So this time I'm just gonna drop a bleed, and then I'm gonna go straight and use Death Swiftness. So just from these numbers, it looks like I'm probably better off using Splinter Shards right out of the gate. So again, about 20 seconds. I'm gonna leave so I can reset my cooldowns, because I want to do a kill where I use both Death Swiftness and Splinter Shards. So I want to see how that looks. And then I'm just going to do 5 regular kills over on the main game itself. So you can see they also removed Fragmentation Shot, which I find interesting. All right, get in here. Oh, I'm going to save it for the last kill, because we'll do a kill where I use There we go. We'll use the bow and see how that looks. I didn't really notice much of a difference with the spec. I've forgotten to activate what you call it for this, cruelty, so I'm not going to do that over on the main game. Oh, I haven't really used snipe yet. Let's see how snipe looks. That's a big hit, huh? That was pretty good. All right. So you definitely seem to get hard carried by oh, you know what? That's a glitch. That's what that is. That is a if you use it without a target, it is not consuming any adrenaline. Sorry, I'm having trouble using my basic because I'm not used to it for ranged. Let's see what kind of damage that does. Oh yeah. So those stack really nice, huh? That probably would have been sub 20 if I hadn't screwed up on the what you call it? Setting the kill up. So that was the new version. Just 5 kills. And I didn't go to dummy test the numbers, because honestly dummies are just packed and it's crazy full right now. So I am gonna hop out of the beta and jump over to the main game now. Alright, and so now I jumped back over to the main game. You can see I have the same loadout. Elite Dracolich, Cruelty Aura, that I'm going to Cruelty Scrimshaw, that I'm going to forget to turn on. Oh, no, that's a Hex. That's not a Bow of the Last Guardian. I suppose I could have used a Hex, since I wasn't really using the spec, but, yeah, it's kind of too late for that. So, I'm going to do 5 kills. I expect the times will be comparable, just because this boss dies so quick. But again, I don't... War's Retreat's a mess right now. And as I've said in the past, I'm kind of dumb. I'm kind of dumb, and I really don't feel like sitting there crunching numbers. So I want to see how this looks practically, like in a real combat situation. I should put the right prayer on. All right, open up with Greco, which is much weaker. Hit that. Dead shot. Stacks. I should have put fleeting boots on for this test. Look at a snipe. Way weaker. Way weaker snipe, huh? Waste Rico again. I don't actually know this boss's mechanics because I killed it so fast when I was grinding out the log. So that kill was way worse. That was 39 seconds. So let's get in there. Let's actually hot up this time. I won't draw Death Swiftness for this, but I'll try to be better about using, you know, I'll even use EOF on this kill. There we go. I didn't fuck up Rico that time. And I could have tested this with SGB, but I wanted to keep things pretty simple, so. That kill was a bit better. A little slower. Definitely, one thing I was having trouble with on the beta is that I kept trying to use, because I know I have my two-handed setup, I kept trying to use Raider Dazing Shot, which doesn't exist. Salt in the Wound doesn't exist either anymore. So those are two kind of, I think, pretty big changes, those abilities missing. I expect this will be a fast skill. This will probably be... Well, maybe not, though, because I didn't, you know, fully prep this the way I should have. Yeah, that was closer to some of the beta kills. We'll do 2 more. Yeah, let's do what I did. I'll go. I'll reset. I'll get my full adrenaline. I'll do 2 more kills. And obviously, this isn't optimal. You know, I should have a crossbow switch for Hydrix bolts. I should I could be using a much better spec, but I'm just trying to sort of take a look at the very sort of basic bare bones ranged combat. I'm definitely, the numbers are worse, like just at sort of a really base level. Lots of 3000s. That Splinter Shards ability is definitely, that's going to be like 100% uptime on that if you can manage it. I mean, there's no question about that. There's definitely some good, I think there's some interesting implications with the abilities being more like Necro now, just because, like, the range is always about the Adren dumps, SGB, Dark Bow, Gloom Bow, but now, like, you can just spam a bunch of snapshots, or you can, do rapid fire back to back. So that's kind of interesting, because it really depends on how they decide to do the crits. So anyway, that was 5 and 5. I mean, if we just look at the times, it definitely seems like we're stronger in the beta, which I kind of expected with the seals going up to 120. You can see how this guy is saying bombardment does double damage now, which is crazy. Let's pull these up real quick. Let's just look at some of these numbers. Definitely stronger in the beta. I mean, I'm just looking at some of these percentages. Piercing shot is basically a basic, just hits twice. Snapshot's a lot weaker. I wonder what they're gonna do about the horror abilities, because those weren't in the beta. Yeah, bombardment does like twice the damage. So when I go over these, I'm gonna put the abilities up next to each other so you can see. But I mean, that is crazy. Some of these changes, it's got me excited. I want to see melee and mage, but drop a comment. Let me know. Have you tried out the beta? What do you think? Do you think it's a good thing for the combat styles to sort of go and get updated to be like necromancy? Is it going to add too much power creep to the game? Is it going to simplify the game too much? It's sort of like an evolution of combat. I mean, as somebody who's been playing since mid 2000s, EOC was not ready. I did nearly quit, but I toughed it out. I'm happy I did, because the game finally got good again. Maybe like around the time raids came out, maybe like a year or so after, when they had a better grip on the system and they had more abilities and stuff to fill out what was missing. I feel like, I know a lot of these changes are driven by Sponge and maybe Mod Ramen too. They definitely want the game to feel better, and it's certainly interesting. It will at the very least be a lot more, like I said, modern, some air quotes, and new player friendly, a lot more intuitive. So I'm excited to see what else. I'm sure, you're going to get Protox, RS Guy, people who are really like to crunch numbers. They're going to put up some more videos that really explain these changes, and things are going to get changed. This is a beta, so nothing's final, but drop a comment. Let me know what you think about these changes. If you think they'll be good for the game, bad for the game, and just keep an eye out for any big changes. I don't think anyone was really expecting this to come all of a sudden. I'm sure they talked about it in Discord, but God forbid they talk about things ahead of time on official channels, right? Anyway, I'm gonna stop stalling. Take it easy. Take care. Thanks for watching.